Ives, the pen of an underdog. So here we are, part 7. This is the part of the book that becomes the takeoff, sort of on the runway, parts 1 through 6. This is the takeoff. This is the climax of the book where everything happens. And again, take the shortcuts. Buy the book, The Pen of an Underdog. It's on Amazon. Right now, going to go into part 7, which is called Vision Casting Right. The circa 2020 to the future. So first I have to say vision casting. Vision casting became a phrase or 2 words that I never really understood what vision casting was. And it's almost like brainstorming, creative thought, discovery, and then picking a destination and wholeheartedly and putting everything into that destination or getting to that destination through self. That's vision casting. The purpose, the authentic purpose to be something greater than you are today, to be something authentic, right? Oh, I want to be a real estate mogul. Okay. Oh, I want to be a day trader. Right? I want to trade crypto. Okay, that's great. Money driven. Money's important. Everybody likes money. Fun coupons, love it. But there's also a side of that is this purpose driven. And I get it. If you have money and you make money, you could help a lot of people, do a lot of things, enjoy your time. I've, in some ways, have done that for other people, meaning I felt good enough making to the point in my career of a division vice president for a publicly traded company. I was like, okay, that's great. Now, what am I wired to do? Leading teams, leading people is what I always saw. It was never like the direct deposit, the bonus, retention bonuses, signing bonuses. It was always leading teams and winning as a team and giving an individual their wins, right? That's where I found my purpose in this long career. It was never the high of getting more money. And so now vision casting, finding an authentic purpose and going after it. That's how I would explain vision casting. And just like in casting, it's almost you have to cast a wide net. You have to cast a wide net, elevate your thoughts, and find something specifically that aligns and makes sense. Whatever that was going to be. I was on this journey. But before I started that journey, I wanted to take some reflection. I started as a bartender. And believe me, when I was a bartender, it was great. And especially the places that I bartended. Downtown Chicago, I bartended in New York, I bartended in Minneapolis. And it was like bartending was fun. I was doing it in different places. To the point, think about this. I was bartending in Chicago, but living in Minneapolis and flying back and forth every Friday and going back every Sunday. Nothing against bartending, but I felt leaving bartending, it comes with age, it comes with knowledge, and it comes with just finding a different path in life. Now, when I was leaving my career, it felt different. I was restructured and I was starting to think, it's like, do I just walk away from this forever? Like, am I done with food manufacturing, grocery retail? What is speaking to me? I'm going to take this path. I'm going to find out. I'm going to go on a self-discovery, an honest self-discovery. Honest, like, what do I like? Do I like chocolate ice cream, vanilla ice cream, strawberry ice cream? What do I do in my free time? Do I like to ride bikes? Do I like to be outdoors? Do I like analytics? Do I like logic? Do I like teaching? All these things were coming up. No longer could float. I had to focus and put time and energy into becoming something that I felt was unique to me and would live out my God-given purpose. So leaving bartending, obviously pretty easy. Now, here I was, the corporate life just grinded me down and I got away from it. And then all of a sudden it was like, I was ready for self-improvement. And like that allure, the allure of like high fixed income stability, prestigious titles, that was intense. And it was a drug. It was a drug that was injected through corporate finance and direct deposit. You're doing great. You've made it. You have a title. You're getting this money every 2 weeks. It's awesome. At the end of the year, you get this big bonus. And it was cool. I have to find a different destination, a destination based on authenticity. Authenticity. Where am I supposed to be? And there was some time in my career, I was kind of afloat, just kind of drifting. And then here I am. I'm at a point where I'm free and clear, right? There was no longer corporate greed, exploitation. I was starting to think about limitless potential, right? I was taking my time. I had this severance. I am going to ride the current of life in the slow lane. And as the weeks rolled on, it was like I drifted further and further away from the redundancy of like corporate chatter, like that burnout, that pain, those fake conversations, that unrealistic expectations, and being a paid actor. Like I was floating away from that and going more towards calm water, right? I'm in the water, it's calm, the sky is clear. Things started happening in my environment. The red tide was switching to like paradise blue, and like my senses were energized. And it was a cleansing process. And I felt like it needed to happen. I needed to cleanse. And anybody could relate to this. If you're going through something difficult and there's all these, it's almost like you're taking on impurities. You're taking on that stress layer by layer, deadlines, bad reviews, bad company culture, bad bosses. You eventually have to drift out to sea to get away from that. And that's what I was doing. And the uncertainty, it felt like it was giving me power. Like I felt alive. The divine message was speaking to my soul. And I knew if I could sort of configure concentrated thought and chase a vision, then I was going to be better off. But how do I do that? How do I find a purpose? Right. And I just started reflecting is like, okay, I did good in my career, but then I also started thinking big picture, like my environment, the city I grew up in, the cities I lived in, my childhood friends, my bosses, and bigger than that, the country, the continent, the world, right? And I'm going deep into this place right now because again, you could see like part 7 for me, I was starting to become something different, like spreadsheets, analysis, yield, throughput, sales numbers, growth, year-over-year projections, gross margin. It was all just going away from me. And it was a big moment of reflection. You look at the world today that we live in. How could we not be happy? It's unprecedented of the level of, say, emotional intelligence, intellectuality, physical environments, technology. I was feeling like this supernatural feeling to understand like the world is a gift and it can be euphoric. And why not make it euphoric? It's like every person is chosen. You're chosen for something. It's not what you think it is. Until you go on that path of discovery and figure out your unique self, your authentic self, like things that aren't going to happen. Negative thought is going to creep in. I had to switch. I wanted my self-esteem to be high. I wanted abundance. I was looking at the world and thinking like, humans have created amazing things. And I started thinking of just how amazing things were. And I was thinking the then and now. For me, I always compared myself then, the uneducated bartender, to now, the division vice president with a master's degree. And for me, like that was cool. Awesome. But then even if you think about these little things throughout history, right? Think about the day electricity was discovered. And then you think about lighting up Times Square. Then you think about farming, very simple. Now you think about like hydroponics. And I'm going to go through a couple more of these. Walking, horseback riding, flying in an airplane, paper atlas, Uber, Pony Express, emails, a sundial, Apple Watch, hunter and gathering, mass production, the barter system, cryptocurrency, a bow and arrow, a stealth bomber, a kite, a drone. And you start thinking of these beautiful inventions and innovations that were brought to Earth. And here we are, we're sitting here and we're worrying about, does my boss like me? Am I going to keep that corporate direct deposit coming into my bank account so I could say I went to a nice dinner and went to a place called Bali or Banff or whatever the trend, Cabo. I went to Cabo. Congratulations. So soul searchers, they've accomplished amazing things throughout history. That was my moment of reflection to say, make this earth the best possible version of it could be, even if it's a small part. And as people, I think we all want the same thing, you know? We want to be authentic and we want to have legacy. Sure, we want nice food. We want our basic needs met. We need relationships, loving relationships, friends, family, romantic interests, professional networks, all those things, right? But then it also comes down to, all right, we all have a God-given purpose. And I think it's up to us individually to find that. And this was my approach. I'm going to share my approach. I'm not saying this was the right approach, but this is what I did. During the corporate exploitation era of my career in life, I just wasn't feeling good what I was doing. You know, the people I worked with were good people, but it was like this machine was at play that it was happening and nothing was going to stop it. Wrong or indifferent, mostly wrong. It wasn't going to stop. And so I knew I had to mentally dump out some feelings. I had to bring my stress levels down. And then I also started thinking, what's my purpose? And I did this with 3 journals. Think about that. The most powerful book that you could go out and buy today is a blank book, and fill it with potential. Vision is color on a blank canvas, a blank book. So my first journal, 3 empty books. The first one I labeled Feelings, Emotional Assessment. And this was the journal, basically how I was feeling, and at a time I was spinning out of control. I held it together. I held my composure for the external. Internally, I was crashing. I was spinning out of control, right? So I had to acknowledge those emotions. I had to write them down to say, okay, I'm really feeling this. Then the second journal was money, wealth creation goals. Okay, this was fun. I played with like entrepreneurial solutions, theory, thought about disruption, creating unicorns, that $1 billion, evaluation, that $1 billion product or business. And even in the more practical sense, started analyzing opportunities within my industry and started writing down brands that I align with and how to make things better. So that's 1 and 2. Journal 1, feelings, emotional assessment. Journal 2, money, wealth creation goals. And then number 3 was purpose, unlimited thoughts. And in this one, I wrote down hobbies, things I enjoyed, like legitimate, unbiased input. Because a lot of times I was doing things based on either social norms or social cues or what I felt I was supposed to be doing. Everybody's doing this, whether it's my demographics or age or where I lived or what my job was. I just felt like maybe I was supposed to be doing all the same things, So I started writing down my hobbies, what I really like to do. And when I was writing things down, I feel like I have a creative side of me. I want to patent something. And then I was like, okay, like I have so much business knowledge and experience, I should start a business. And then lastly, I wrote down, write a book. And this is the seed I want to plant. I started down this path, this discovery path. And what came out of it was to write a book. Amazing. So you could see where I was going. I was doing things differently, unorthodox. You get my childhood friends together, love all my brothers. We don't sit around and talk about purpose and feelings. They come up here and there, but in the grander sense, it's just, we don't go that far. We don't go that far to talk about what my purpose is and unlimited thoughts. We cover a lot of great topics, but so I knew I needed support. And I would say, where I'm from, my culture, the South Side of Chicago, like the real South Side, right? Nobody really saw therapists. Nobody took antidepressants. And I come from a time and a place that we did things differently. So it was never an option, right? It was never an option. I don't think I needed it. But in the South Side playbook, I feel there's no mention of hiring a vision coach, right? So again, chapter 7, vision casting. And I had a friend, she recommended a vision coach. And I was like, well, what's a vision coach? I heard of a life coach. And a life coach, again, same thing, not for me. For whatever it was, it didn't fit into me or my culture, a life coach. But a vision coach, I was like, okay, a vision coach, very different. So one of my greatest friends to this day, mentor, love him, he's an angel. His name's Jonah Rockwell. And how would I explain Jonah? He was like a beach boy. He's from Florida, grew up in a beach town, surfed, long blonde hair, tan skin. He always had a sport jacket on, colorful shirt. And he had like a passionate personality that was larger than life. You know the type, you meet the person, and it's like they're larger than life. The kind of person you want to always be around. His heart was with Jesus and his soul gives light. Like that person. And there's not many, right? Or maybe there are, but they're sort of muted. This guy was personality, a genuine servant leader, colorful laugh. You just thought of like beautiful things, like a gift from God. And that was my vision coach. I hired him. You're my vision coach. You're going to help me get through finding my purpose. On this path of discovery, you're going to be the guiding light. We had 1-hour sessions. He gave me compliments. You know what? You're a humble man of God. And he considered that like his greatest compliment. And he started calling me Preacher Ray Ives, Preacher Ray Ives. And the other compliment, he said I was an everyman. And he basically said, he's like, okay, you should write a book. Biggest thing is getting permission. You can give yourself permission. And I always feel you have permission to fulfill your greatest life. You don't have to ask. You don't have to ask your social group, your family. You have permission. When you were born, God gave you permission. And he reminded me of that. He gave me permission. I heard the words, permission given, an affirmation, permission to gravitate towards dreams, ideas, visions, permission given to explore unfamiliar territory, unfamiliar endeavors. That was it. It was like I finally had permission. And through this process, and literally went through a lot of things, and it landed on becoming an author. All right. And so I was going to give this a shot. Poetry, creative writing, prayer writing, it was all part of the process to leave my comfort zone. You take any one of those, I sit down, say I'm at a fantasy football draft with my friends, and it's like, hey guys, I'm going to start writing poetry, or pick up basketball. Hey, I'm going to start creative writing. You don't get the warm and fuzzies. This was me leaving my comfort zone. I wanted to transcend my own insecurities. And it was basically like an instant epiphany. I was drawn to what else? The pen. I was drawn to the pen to tell stories and write. And I wanted to be an author, follow my heart unconditionally, without preconception, judgment, regret. Reckless, fearless, aggressively, whatever that was, whatever I was feeling, I was going to put it on paper. So that's it. Part 7, The Pen of an Underdog. It was a journey. And this is why I was sharing like the corporate, the stories growing up, the underdog status is like, I was getting to a point where that path of discovery, I knew what I had to do. And mostly it was stop consuming bad food, stop consuming bad information, stop consuming. I read enough books. You read enough books. I've had enough experience, observations, situations, circumstances, as have you. So I decided, I was like, I don't have to read any more books at this time. I'm going to write a book. The music person. You don't have to listen to people's music. Start creating music. You want to start a movie, a play, be a screenwriter. Stop reading styles and really have your own style, and stop consuming. Start creating. Stop consuming other people's content and start creating. And whatever happens, happens. Ray Ives, The Pen of an Underdog. This is where it comes alive. This is where sacrifice, going public with my story, taking on that vulnerability, stop consuming, start creating. Thank you.